Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I am really proud to be joined by Dr. Mike Kohn. He is a veterinarian and very interesting gentleman with a lot of experience that hopefully we'll be able to share a nice sliver of it for you today. Hi, Dr. Kohn.
Good afternoon, Rob.
It's great to be with you. So we have you have a practice, and I want to just introduce the audience a little bit to you about how you practice veterinary medicine. Can you go through just a little bit about some of the modalities you practice, some of the tools in your tool belt?
Well, I practice kind of a eclectic alternative, I don't know what we call it, complementary medicine, whatever. I have had training and is certified in veterinary acupuncture, but I don't use it in practice because it's a very difficult thing to do to be a good acupuncturist, whether you're human or animal. It's very difficult to be good. And I practiced for a short period of time, but found that it was too challenging to become excellent at that. So I've been practicing at my own clinic, since 1981. And in that period of time, I studied Bach flower remedies, homeopathy. I never got certified in veterinary homeopathy with Richard Pitcairn, but came close. Still use a little homeopathy. Bach flower remedies work real good in some instances. Additionally, nutrition. Let's see what else. Trying to work with clients about reducing vaccination applications in dogs and cats. And I did a lot of work with, originally started the American Ferret Association with Dr. Mark Finkler from Roanoke, Virginia. He's now no longer in practice, but we were the two that organized and began the American Ferret Association in the late 1980s. I was into a lot of exotics. I worked on a lot of rabbits, ferrets, a lot of exotics.
Yep.
And today, my practice is not so much the exotics as I see dogs and cats. And I have clients that travel in the state of Wisconsin. I have one client 150 miles away. She only comes to me.
Wow.
I have a new client that's coming up from approximately the same distance, maybe even further. And these people are seeking veterinarians that aren't selling. Today, veterinarians have turned into sales reps for medications. And if I might add, I'm a very, very big advocate, or I should say anti-advocate, of what's going on with flea and tick products that are being pushed. And most clients, and even the veterinarians, do not even realize that they're selling oral insecticides. We're talking about isoxazoline pesticides that are given orally in the form of Credelio, NexGard, Simparica, you name it. You can give all these names. Bravecto. And now what we're seeing is they're doing the same thing with cats, and they're trying to incorporate the newest application is to incorporate heartworm with the flea and tick orally. So they would be taking, I don't know if they're using moxidectin or milbemycin or ivermectin with the azoxyzolline products. And the reason for it, we have to look at it realistically. The reason for it, it's financial. They can sell convenience and financial
Yep.
application.
Yeah. I appreciate you said the convenience word because, the consumer has to buy into this. And part of the bargain is, it's an easy one and done, once a week, really easy thing to apply or to give. And there's no work involved, and so it makes it really easy to sell. Hey there, this is Rob Ryan. I just want to say how much we enjoy making this content for you here. And if you are enjoying it, would you like our video down below? And would you subscribe to our YouTube channel? It sure does help us get discovered by more people like you who need information like this. And also, down below in our description, the top link is to our trial pack. We hope you'll order one for your dog so your dog can have fermented superfoods that give them nutrition like they can't find anywhere else. Hard to get nutrients that are easily absorbed. Thank you very much. Now back to the show.
Yeah, they're also doing the injectable heartworm, ProHeart, one injection, 6 months or longer.
Yeah.
And then we live in Wisconsin where we see mosquitoes from late, depends on the weather this year, late April till about sometime in mid to late October. And
Yeah.
what we've got veterinarians doing in the state of Wisconsin is even further north, where they don't even have many mosquitoes, selling the product heartworm year round.
Yeah.
And the same thing with flea and tick, year round, not just
Yep.
the season, year round.
That's right. And isn't it the case that heartworm, the mosquitoes, it's not even that cold. It's like, I think it's 56 degrees or under Fahrenheit. You've got about a 2-week period from that 56 degrees of there not being any issue with heartworm. So bottom line is during the winter, you're pretty safe, especially in Wisconsin.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but it takes thought, and that's not convenient.
No, and then in the veterinarians, the sad part, I ask clients when they come in, did your vet talk with you about what these products that they're selling you are? Did they talk with you about the product? They go, no. They don't even talk with you. It's the tech or the receptionist or a rep or somebody. The vet never is involved.
Yeah.
And like I said, every vet should be involved with talking about a product like an azoxyzolline pesticide, insecticide. Well, we're seeing now numerous neurological problems. FDA is allowing this to go forward. They just put a warning out. Doesn't mean much, They're not really doing much, but saying, "Oh, okay, this product might possibly cause neurological problems.
Yeah.
Be aware of it." They're sending it to the CDA, excuse me, but nothing's being done about it. It doesn't register, and the veterinarians should be culpable when they're selling these products. And if there are neurological problems, and we're seeing it um, at earlier and earlier ages.
Yeah. And these topicals that are drops you put on the back of your animal, you've got your animal, and then you've got yourself and your kids. If you ever pet your animal or kiss your animal or sleep with your animal, that are getting that stuff all over you. And, it's just read the label, read the side effects and, the dangers. I mean, those labels are really, really key because, as much as there's such, uh, there's a lot of, um, I don't know if the word's obfuscation or it's there's not going to be any big flashing red sign warning you. There's still some actual honest information in these product pamphlets, these little labels, because that's how the companies get around liability is they disclose it. But how many pet parents are reading those?
Well, my problem is I have to admit, I do, I've done a lot of use of um, what do you call it? The medallions or transmitters, electromagnetic transmitters.
Mhm.
I've sold a lot of those. But I have to admit, I do use some topicals because I really wish I could have gotten away with just one of the safest products that ever was out there was the original pyrethrins,
Yeah.
which are very safe. Um, Chrysanthemum flowers are everywhere, and the pyrethrins were very safe. Even the synthetic permethrins. But unfortunately, uh, I've got clients that they want something, and unfortunately, I do sell a little bit of um, topical, but I'm very careful in what I do with it. It's in the thought is there is a very very minor amount of absorbance through the fat layer of the skin versus giving it through the GI tract. But again, I've cut back drastically. I'm trying to be very aware of what the client's needs are specifically, especially if they're going up north into a very heavy wooded area where there are numerous deer ticks in the northern part of our state. It's
Yeah.
very well known. Minnesota and North Dakota, very well known for uh, our deer population and the deer tick.
Yeah. Those are nasty. Yeah. The diseases some of those guys are.
Lyme's is a big problem, and I don't know. I like I said, I'm very concerned about why we're pushing Lyme so much. Lyme's vaccine.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. So I saw a quote that was from some time ago. I think it was like 2013 when you mentioned you were quoted as saying, "I think the vaccines are the leading killers of dogs and cats in America today." Um, can you explain what you mean by that? What your feeling is about that? If you still feel that way?
Um, uh, I'm concerned because I have to at least say that there is some responsibility for rabies vaccine. to protect humans. Um, However, there's a certain a point in when an animal's life where we're over vaccinating, and once they get to a certain age, the need for vaccines is minimal. That being said, I will not vaccinate a dog or a cat over the age of 10 for anything.
Mm.
Um, and unfortunately, what we've got is a mentality that veterinarians want to see, especially cat vets, they want to see that cat back every year. So they put one year label on the vaccine. Okay, the rabies vaccine is good for 3, but they label it 1 year, so the client has to come back every year to have that cat seen. Otherwise, with dogs, we're going to probably heartworm test them. And I had truly can talk about a case I had 2 years ago where mixed animal practitioner along the Wisconsin River. The gentleman was going to the veterinarian, and the veterinarian, um, several years, um, never talked about heartworm prevention and testing. A dog came to me positive. We went through many rounds of confirmatory. Um, Dog survived, does well. However, the vet never told him. I mean,
Wow.
I had 5 cases in 1 year. I have not had a case in almost a year.
Wow. Have you ever seen cases where people have done exactly what they're supposed to do with the heartworm, preventatives, but the animal still got heartworm?
Not in Wisconsin so far. There are breaks, and if you go down into Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, there
Mm.
are. I've heard of breaks with the product, and I remember I came out of the 1980s when diethylcarbamazine, the DEC, was the only product used. You had to give it daily,
Mm.
pill daily to the dog for heartworm prevention, and heartworm was rampant. It was unbelievable number of cases, and there wasn't much you could do at that time. Today, like I said, ivermectin is pretty safe product. I think it is. Um, some holistic vets are using no-sodes and homeopathics, and I don't know. I can't go there because I don't want to take that risk of a break. And a lot of these vets are, I know, and I don't want to get rude about the American Holistic Veterinary Medical Association, but there are a lot of members. You go on their websites and they're selling flea and tick, oral flea and tick product. I mean, hypocrisy is amazing among. I also want to mention there was one, and I'm not an anti-vaxxer, so quote unquote. However, when COVID was rampant, um, a veterinarian who's well known, nationally known. I happened to be close with her at one time, and I asked her. This was in maybe 2020, or we had the vaccine in late 2020. And I asked her. I said, because quote unquote, holistic vets reduce and minimize vaccinations. And I asked her directly, how many vets? She goes, she doesn't practice. She basically does some teaching,
Okay.
certified in homeopathy with Richard Pitcairn. and she's well known. But I asked her directly. I said, "About what percentage of veterinarians holistic? Because that's who you're dealing with. How many of them have taken the COVID vaccine?" I was shocked. I said, "What? 10%? 20%?" She goes, "No, more." I said, "What? 50%?" At least, at
Hmm.
least, at least 50% had taken both boosters.
How does
And
she know that?
pardon?
How does she know that?
Because she talks with the vets.
Mm,
She communicates with a lot of holistic vets. She does a lot of that's her husband is a physician. She's never really practiced, quote unquote practice. She does a lot of consulting.
mm.
And I was shocked. Over 50% of the vet holistic, these are people, quote, holistic, over 50. She said he maybe as high as 70% of them.
Yeah.
I was kind of shocked because, you got to practice what you preach.
Yeah. I mean, it seems to me like vaccines are a pretty complicated issue because for the really big and popular ones, it seems to me you've got a production. This is a very sensitive product to make right. And you've got a massive production machine. And for them all to be mixed perfectly and properly, um, just from things I've read, that's where you can get into trouble. Batches that aren't exactly mixed well. And then you've got things like, for example, there's a rattlesnake venom vaccine. And I considered that at one point. I come from California, and there's plenty of rattlesnakes where I live. Lived in Nevada for a bit, and now Colorado. And I was naturally very inquisitive about it. I thought, gee, your dog gets in one of those bushes with a rattlesnake, gets bit on the nose. You got a that's a long run down a big hill with your dog who's maybe 70 pounds. So, but all the holistic vets I talk to, the really brilliant ones, the ones practicing over 30 years that are just geniuses, they all said, look, there's no free lunch. It doesn't really work long term. And it comes with some risks, some pretty serious risks. Okay. So, it's just really important, I think, for everything you do, any medication, and I put vaccines in that group. Anything you're going to administer to your animal or yourself, you just want to have, eyes wide open.
Correct. One of the things that I do with the rabies is I give it with the thiacimmerol free, so you
Yeah.
don't have a preservative that is potentially dangerous.
Yeah.
And
Thiamidol is the mercury
yeah,
adjuvant,
yes,
right?
correct.
Okay.
And it works really well. It used to be used because it's a preservative. Mercury works excellent as a preservative.
Is the thimerosal free? Does that have the aluminum instead?
I can't answer that.
Okay. I don't know. I vaguely remember off the top of my head as you were saying it. I was that's another adjuvant that they use. That's I mean it's obviously less toxic than mercury. Isn't mercury the most toxic thing on the planet? Yeah.
Mercury,
Yeah.
uh,
That's pretty.
mercury, arsenic, the heavy metals.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and so when you say over vaccinating, you going back to the quote that we talked about, when you say over vaccinating, I mean, we know about the rabies vaccine challenge. People can Google that and educate themselves on that. Um,
You're speaking of the study that they did the years ago. They took so many puppies and then they funding. Otherwise, they would have taken it further out than 7, 8 years is
That's
that the study you're speaking of?
that's right.
Okay.
Yeah. So what they determined is that the vaccine is efficacious well beyond 3 years, multiple years, and it might even been well beyond the period of time which I think was 7 years.
It
Uh,
was 7 years. They vaccinated the dogs as, puppies and, did a 1-year vaccine
you know,
booster and then took it out 7 years, and they lost their funding. They couldn't go any further, but 7 years is pretty good.
it's great. Yeah, 7 years is great. So really, anything if your dog fits in that category, if your dog was perfectly protected, let's say at year 7, and you got a vaccine every single year, you got 6 extra doses. Let's just use quick math. Or in some states, if it's every 3 years, you got 2 extra doses that your dog didn't even need, is a completely unnecessary therapy.
You're right. The problem comes in is, I could show you my license. I had to go for review, with a problem that occurred. I got, an employee that went after me. I hadn't had a complaint for 32 years, and I got one, and then I got 3 within 2 weeks after she, left my practice. So, with that in mind, you gotta be a little bit careful. There was a veterinarian, I'm trying to think of his name. He was in Florida. I met him, probably in the late late 80s, and he was of the ilk that I'm not gonna vaccinate any animal for rabies, period. And, that was his thing. But, you go before the veterinary examining board in the state of Wisconsin, you tell them, "I don't vaccinate at all," or, "I don't give any rabies at all," you're not gonna be practicing long.
Yeah. Yeah.
However, my disclaimer is that if I vaccinate and the animal is, like I said, I don't recommend vaccinating after several vaccines, and I will write a letter for the client telling them that I think this dog, maybe 8-year-old dog, and it may have some medical problems already. I will not vaccinate it for rabies, and I will explain. And I've not had any problems because it's realistic. And I'm not trying to beat the system. I'm trying to make sure that animal doesn't get sick. Sicker, excuse me, sicker.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, that certainly makes, I think anybody within, you know, watching, listening, this or any of the shows we've discussed a similar topic. Um, I mean, nobody would want to do an unnecessary therapy to their dog. Period. I mean, you wouldn't want to give a chemical, or an intervention really, um, if your dog didn't need it. So I think really it comes down to that convenience thing, and of course, law. In some states, just that's the way it is.
It it is really sad what I see. Um, I could get into a real discussion about veterinary medicine and what's going on today, but I think we're on a different topic. It still points out that veterinarians are. I came out when, um, in the early '80s, when I think there was more uh, concern. I think maybe I'm wrong, but today, I think it's more. Um, my loans need to be paid. I have to find a job that pays today, over 100,000 a year. And just to throw out to the audience, if you're an owner of a practice today, the average that I'm reading from statistics, you're making 225 to 250,000 a year. And there's all kinds of gurus out there that are telling you that if you're not charging X number of dollars for your services and doing X things, etc., you're not making what you should be making to live the lifestyle that a veterinarian should live.
Mm,
Unfortunately, I'm sorry. I'm in the practice. I haven't made that kind of money what a normal starting vet makes in 3 years, and I'm working full time still. I don't even make that in 3 years, 4. And it's not. I go to practice because I enjoy it. I don't go there because I'm going to make money. I do have acumen that I do have some income coming in from other sources. However, I mean, I don't go to practice because I'm going to make. I know I'm going to make 100,000 a year.
yeah.
There's nobody out there that's doing. I mean, there's very few people. I don't think you can find 100 vets that are doing what I'm doing full time at the age of 72 that that love doing what they're doing, and it's not about the money.
Yeah.
And if we could get veterinarians together, I wish you would communicate with Will Winter from Minneapolis. I don't know if that name has come up. He doesn't practice veterinary medicine. He lost his license a few years ago. However, he is probably one of the preeminent knowledgeable people about um, quality veterinary care. He does right now. He's doing uh, um, consulting, organic, grass-fed, organic beef and animals in Minnesota out of Minneapolis. And
Love it.
he's what if you know of any of these other Acres USA, if you're familiar, he speaks there. He speaks at Weston A. Price. I mean, he's a very, very knowledgeable human being.
Yeah.
And we talk about all the time. I mean, yeah, he has an income coming in from all these other sources, but for me, I mean, I go, my wife and my wife, I was going to give her a shout out. She's not American. She's Filipino, and she gets up at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's normal for her. She's
Yeah.
younger than I am, but I'm up by 4
Yeah.
every morning, weekends, and we don't. I just say I don't watch TV. I watch maybe some information from YouTube or something, but people are just life is so much more rich if you just take the time to enjoy. My other side, other side gig is I'm a potter. I love doing pottery. I've been
Love
making
it.
pottery for years. And like I said, my wife, again, we just we love doing what we're doing, and I love being a veterinarian. I love it. I
How,
get up. I'm at practice at 5:30 in the morning.
that's
Yeah, I go home by 2, but I'm there at 5 o'clock every morning.
amazing. Uh, tell me about your pottery just real briefly. How long have you been doing that?
I just do something here real quick for the audience. Show them a piece of my pottery.
Wow.
That's a canister.
Yep. Wow. It's nice and finished inside. Beautiful.
Yeah, you can see the inside too, black.
Yeah. That's great.
That's
Well,
I do that. That's kind of you know, uh, it it releases. I enjoy. Like I said, I go every day, 5 to about 2 every day of the week. Saturday, I'm in there at 5:36, 5:30, and I'm there till about 11. And I do house call. Um,
Old school.
old school, old school.
Love
Yes,
it.
sir.
I love it. Well, I have a thesis that you're helping me prove uh, already more than I've proven it, which is the best practicing scientists, best practicing in this case veterinarians. They're they have a side to them that's very artistic. So the best vets I've known just have that in them. They're Dr. Ian Billinghurst, who works for us with us. He's a painter and amazing painter. You're doing your pottery. My personal veterinarian does amazing woodworking. You know, and I could give lots of examples, but if you want to find a really great uh, uh, talented veterinarian who practices the art of veterinary medicine, find an artist. One of the things I look for. It's not a disqualifying factor, but it certainly is something where it gets my attention.
Yeah, I agree with you. Music, people are high quality musicians that are veterinarians. I have a good friend in Paola, Kansas, who fantastic musician. He's about 75. He's still practicing,
Yep,
and he's phenomenal.
love it. Well, and also we can include, you know, formulation and these herbal apothecary veterinarians that are making, it's an extension of veterinary medicine, but it's an art, to put together, whether it be Chinese medicine or where the herbs come from really doesn't matter. But these are very interesting, talented minds, that aren't just practicing veterinarian medicine by checking boxes. If this presents, administer this. um because in my personal opinion, I just don't think that's good practice of medicine. I think thinking through problems and around problems, and being a detective of what's going on with your animal, that's the best veterinary medicine. So tell me this. What is your, if you could give the number one tip to health for all dogs and cats, um, what is it? Is it, um, well, let me just leave it
Nu-
there.
Nutrition,
Yep.
nutrition.
And how do you define nutrition for dogs and cats?
Uh, I find nutrition. I think you know Ian Billinghurst probably is a better person to talk about that natural diet. Um, I I
Well,
just
you prescribe to a biologically appropriate Ian Billinghurst method. Is that fair?
well I talk about I'm more into adding and with well, cats are a lot more difficult, but
Yeah.
with dogs, um, raw vegetables, raw fruits, and you know, I really, I'm not into recommending people to give their dogs candy bars and chocolates and whatnot, but we've gotten into this atrocious and incredible fear and insanity about chocolate. I, scientifically, I do take respect for the Pet Poison Center out of Minneapolis. However, I mean, dogs can take in a lot of chocolate for pure chocolate and won't cause any problems. That's not a big problem. People get so scared. Same thing with a small amount. I get people, they're so worried about their dog eating one grape. Uh, I mean, I wouldn't feed a dog pounds of grapes, or same thing with, I can't remember what the number was. I don't have it off the top of my head, the number of pounds per kilogram a dog or whatever. But it's amazing how much a dog can actually take in chocolate that would make them toxic.
Yeah.
And the same thing with, I get people calling me, their dog's a yellow lab or a lab, and they dropped a small piece of onion on the floor, and the dog ate it. And they're they're wondering, should they take the dog to the emergency center? Uh, the dog's been, and they tried to get the dog to vomit with hydrogen peroxide. I go, oh my God, just relax. I mean, that's not going to be any problem. Don't be feeding your dog a full onion, but if the
Yeah.
dog gets a sliver of onion, it's not going to be a toxic situation.
Yeah. Well, and also, so depending on the candy bar or the chocolate bar, there's very little chocolate in these things anymore, So the active ingredient is so low because they just pump it full of sugar and all kinds of other junk. But so what is it you're saying here? You're not saying that dogs should have chocolate or dogs should have grapes or dogs should have onions.
We 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 should be looking at more. I really I carrots, broccoli, cauliflower, green beans, okra, whatever, peas, um, and uh, some dogs like Swiss chard. I mean, if that's what they like, more power. I mean, we can look at raw food diets and then adding all these things additionally. Um, Fruits and vegetables. My God, dogs love oranges and uh, pineapple, oranges. Our dog, I mean, everything that we eat. Um,
Okay.
so the I don't know. I'm just eclectic about feeding. I think um, dogs are scavengers.
Yep.
They're from the wolf. The wolf is scavenger,
Yep.
and dogs are
Tunis.
scavengers, and they do very well as long as they, uh, you know, you just have to be careful and not overindulge. And that's
Yeah.
the bigger problem is people overfeeding and not exercising enough.
Yeah.
That's the biggest problem I see is obesity
Yeah.
in dogs and cats, both.
Sure. Yeah. You mentioned okra. Why do you like okra?
Because I like it myself. We cut it up in organic okra and we let it set overnight in water and we drink the okra. My wife got into that. I don't know if she read it, but it is. I grew up with it. I grew up in Texas. That's where I grew up, and okra was like a weed down there. I mean, it grew everywhere, and
Yep.
it has. Some people don't like it because of that slimy texture, but it is a very good digestive
Yep.
product for anybody. And if you don't want to eat the okra, the mucin from it is excellent. And then we also do every day, we do green barley, barley drink. Um, my wife uses a little hot water with powdered barley. We do that every morning. And I mean, the same thing with our dog. And she gets multiple, multiple supplement vitamins and things like that.
Yeah.
We're, I'm a walking vitamin.
That's great.
Nutraceuticals. I mean, I'm really into nutraceuticals. I
Yeah.
think, I think for animals and for humans. Oh,
Well, when you can get them from whole foods and not from a production laboratory, production methods, it's always better.
Yeah, exactly. But when you look at now, I'm getting off the subject, but I've been a big proponent for since my father got me introduced to it about 30 years ago. S or C,
Yeah.
I take, and my wife and I both take 1,000 milligrams twice a day.
Yeah.
Neither one of us have been ill this year. Um, and if I ever do get anything, it's 1 or 2 days, and that's it. And
Yeah. Have you done the liposomal vitamin C, Dr. Kohn?
no, I haven't.
That's even next level from Esther. And it's now they've gotten so good at making these liposomal versions of several nutraceuticals, including glutathione. But I'll tell you, they've come down in price. It's great. Goes right in you.
Yeah,
Yep.
we just started doing in the last year, in the last couple of years. I mean, turmeric and high quality turmeric capsules, which is basically powdered turmeric,
Yep.
and astragalus. Uh, 45, I think I'm taking a quality company. Um, and I was going to mention our dog does it because she gets a triple mushroom, shiitake, miyatake, and reishi.
Great.
Uh, really strongly recommend that for all. If we could get it into cats, I do it for cats, but for dogs, definitely for immune. Oh my gosh, that is a very good immune enhancer.
Oh, mushrooms are where it's at. Mushrooms are incredible for a lot of balancing and prevention and resilience. They're just great.
Yep, and I really strongly recommend it with clients to get their dogs on it. Triple mushroom.
Yeah, that's
So we
great.
do, we do that.
Well, I'm with you there. I mean, I do a lot of the same things and for myself but yeah, nutraceuticals. Many people don't know the word of that. It's basically just administering nutritional components. When you take a vitamin C tablet. But nutraceuticals are in our food. So if you're looking for high concentrations, nutrient dense foods, grass fed meats. Really good quality, high quality raised eggs. These are all superfoods with a lot of nutritional value to them, and vegetables. Well, Dr. Kohn, this has been so great to be able to talk with you over this almost hour. So let's get people to where they can find you. So can people do a phone consult or a Zoom consult with you?
They can call me. I don't. I
Okay.
if people I don't do telemedicine.
Yep.
Um, I consult. I never charge people if they want to talk about whatever. I have time, free time. I'm more interested in you know hooking them up, maybe somebody locally for them. But like I said, I do a lot of talking on the telephone, and I don't charge. I've never done any charging of telemedicine, which is now a big thing in our American Veterinary Medical Association and the rules and guidelines and things like that.
Yeah.
But I don't charge. My knowledge, if somebody wants to call me, I'm more than happy. If they want to spend half an hour, I'm going to probably say maybe you should see somebody locally or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, Peterinary Clinic, Petinary clinic.com is where you can find Dr. Kohn. And thank you so much, Dr. Kohn. This has been a nice conversation.
Thank you, Rob, for having me.
All right, everybody, thanks for watching or listening. Have a great day. See you next time.